The narrative commences with an art teacher named Takuro in high school who is quite popular among the students due to his good looks. One student named Yua is shown to have a crush on Takuro, as she is introverted and lacks friends. Yua is also not part of any school clubs due to her lack of hobbies. While standing in front of a painting, Takuro joins her and reveals that he is the one who painted it. He suggests that Yua can join the drawing club if she wants to. Despite finding it challenging, Yua initially declines the offer. However, noticing her sadness, Takuro offers to draw a painting in her notebook. Yua shares that she does not have one at the moment, leading Takuro to take her hand and draw a small puppy. This gesture causes Yua to feel her heart beating fast for the first time. The story then shifts to Takuro's past, showing him as a student in a class where their teacher, Yumiko, struggles to control the students, resulting in her ending the class abruptly. Afterwards, Takuro goes to turn in his homework. When Yumiko leaves the room, he notices that she forgot her notebook. Unable to resist, he takes a peek at what she wrote and is surprised to see that she wrote about one-sided love and the difficulties of confessing feelings. Strangely, Takuro begins to feel a peculiar connection to Yumiko. In another part of the story, Yua is delighted with Takuro's drawing on her hand. However, the following day at school, she discovers that Takuro drew all the students' hands, leading her to feel disappointed that she is not as special to him as she thought. Quickly, she rushes to the bathroom to wash off the drawing. As she exits the bathroom, she sees Takuro offering her the opportunity to join the painting club. Yua accepts the invitation this time, and they both head to the painting room. There, Takuro starts to teach Yua how to draw an apple as a beginner lesson. From the past, Takuro returns Yumiko's notebook. Yumiko feels embarrassed because she knows he read her notes. She starts avoiding him, but this only grabs Takuro's attention. He finds her different and can't help but be attracted to her. When they meet during a break, Takuro confesses he's unsure which college to attend post-graduation. Yumiko, noting Takuro's drawing skills, suggests he consider fine arts college. Takuro agrees and visits Yumiko's office to draw in peace. Yumiko begins to take care of him and work alongside him. Seizing the opportunity, Takuro secretly sketches her. In the future, Yua successfully draws an apple and realizes her talent, deciding to stay in the drawing club. During the next class, she tries to ask Takuro for advice on her drawing but sees him talking to another student, causing feelings of jealousy and making her refrain from talking to him. A student named Akagi approaches her from behind, attempting to strike up a conversation. Aware of his affection for her, she ignores him and does not encourage his advances. The scene then shifts to the past, where Takuro completes a drawing of Yumiko. Their relationship becomes more intimate, with Yumiko seeking Takuro's opinion on one of her drawings. Takuro then recreates the drawing for her, causing her to feel anxious. A teacher enters the room, prompting Takuro to leave. The teacher advises Yumiko not to show favoritism towards any student, warning her to prevent any of them from developing romantic feelings towards her. She reflects on her actions and realizes she is growing closer to Takuro. As a result, Yua starts avoiding Takuro altogether, even preventing him from drawing in her office. Back to the future, Takuro visited Yua in class, taking her to the arts room, trying to make her make some friends. However, he seemed a little jealous when a guy started talking to her. In the past, when Takuro noticed his teacher's behavior, he visits her office after school when she is alone. He informs her that he has decided to enroll in the fine arts college, which brings joy to his face. She encourages him to work hard, and Takuro takes the opportunity to ask why she was avoiding him. He explains that a romantic relationship between a teacher and student is not appropriate. Takuro questions if she ever viewed their relationship as something special. Yua blushes and becomes nervous, remaining silent, indicating she has hidden feelings for him. In the future, Yua decides to wait for Takuro in the growing room, but she falls asleep after waiting for a long time. When Takuro enters the room, he sees her asleep and starts drawing her. After some time, she wakes up and he asks her to stay still so he can continue drawing her. This makes Yua's heart flutter with happiness and love. Moving back to the past, Takuro finally takes a step in his relationship by confessing his feelings to Yumiko. Yumiko is confused and believes that a relationship between a teacher and a student is not possible. Takuro assures her of his love, but she rejects his feelings. Takuro leaves the office frustrated, but decides to continue loving her. In the future, after Takuro finishes drawing Yua, she thanks him for his work. However, as soon as he exits the room, she spots his personal notebook. Unable to resist, she opens it only to be surprised by numerous drawings of a woman. Reflecting on the past, we observe Yumiko completely ignoring Takuro out of a fear that their relationship could progress beyond what she intended. Nevertheless, she can't help feeling jealous when noticed a girl talking to him. One day he accompanies her on her way home and expresses gratitude for her support in helping him choose his college. Subsequently, he inquires about her feelings for him, leaving Yumiko feeling anxious about how to respond. Despite this, his inquiry gives him hope as she didn't outright reject him. He escorts her home with happiness, believing she harbors feelings for him. Moving forward, Yua decides to admit her feelings to Takuro. His response is not one of surprise, but rather a gentle rejection as he reveals his love for another woman. Yua recalls the woman she saw in his notebook and questions if that is the woman he has feelings for. He confesses that the woman is actually his wife. Yua is left speechless and unable to identify her emotions, silently leaving the room and Takuro behind, whose sadness is evident on his face. Going back in time, Takuro and Yumiko are shown to be in a romantic relationship. Takuro sends her messages, but she avoids responding. They continue talking throughout the day, despite Yumiko feeling guilty for not being able to resist Takuro's affection. Back to the future, Akagi is seen assisting Yua in lifting heavy items. He seizes the opportunity to express his romantic feelings for her, but Yua kindly turns him down, proposing they remain friends. Meanwhile, Takuro arrives on the scene, feeling envious after overhearing the conversation. As we flash back to the past, Takuro contacts Yumiko, only to receive a response stating that she can no longer continue their romantic relationship for the sake of both of them, prompting them to end things. The next day at school, Takuro feels heartbroken when Yumiko ignores him. His best friend notices his sadness and learns about his relationship with Yumiko. After class, a girl who has a crush on Takuro approaches him and confesses her feelings. Takuro politely rejects her, stating that he is already in love with someone else. The girl asks if he is in a one-sided love or in a relationship, to which Takuro is unable to answer. The girl continues to pursue Takuro, unaware that the person he loves is actually Yumiko, their teacher. Back to the future, some girls gossip about Takuro and it is revealed that many of them also have a crush on him. One of the girls takes out her personal notebook, and upon noticing this, Yua becomes afraid that they may open it and see Yumiko's artwork. She quickly interrupts the girl by claiming that the principal requires all of them in his office. After they leave, Takuro expresses gratitude for her actions, to which she responds that she is glad to help him. It becomes evident that she still loves him despite knowing they cannot be together at present. In another instance from the past, a teacher ridicules Yumiko for being unprofessional in her teaching. Takuro overhears the conversation and commends Yumiko for her ability to effectively teach the students. The teacher feels embarrassed. Takuro seizes the opportunity to follow Yumiko to her office, feeling nervous initially. Eventually, he mentions to her that many girls have a crush on him in his class. Yumiko becomes visibly jealous and warns him not to make such claims again. At this point, Takuro unexpectedly kisses her. Unfortunately, they are caught by the girl who previously confessed her feelings to Takuro. She quickly informs a teacher about what she witnessed. The following day, Takuro is thrilled about the kiss they shared, only to be shocked by the principal's announcement that Yumiko has resigned. Takuro becomes angry and attempts to reach out to Yumiko, but he receives no response. He seeks information from the principal, but she refuses to disclose any details. In the future, Yua continues to display interest in Takuro by frequently looking at him. She is surprised to find that he is also making eye contact with her, causing her feelings to become confused and perplexed. In a flashback, Yumiko is in the principal's office, where she is told that a student saw her kissing another student, resulting in the latter being expelled from school. However, Yumiko takes on the responsibility for this incident and decides to resign from her job. A year later, Takuro has already completed his studies and enrolled in the Fine Arts College, but he cannot stop thinking about Yumiko and is eager to visit her. In the future, the students have already seen Takuro's notebook. They are speaking negatively about him, speculating that his wife may have cheated on him, which is why he now lives alone. However, Yua is standing in the middle of the class, desperately trying to defend him. At that moment, Takuro enters the class and sees Yua's efforts, prompting him to clarify the situation. He informs his students that he was indeed married, but his wife passed away. Yua is shocked upon hearing this. After the class ends, she approaches Takuro, placing her hand on his shoulder, apologizing, and assuring him that everything will be okay. Takuro's heart races as he is happy to have her close to him. Reflecting on the past, Takuro was an outstanding student in college. Meanwhile, we see Yumiko, who now works at a publishing company. She finally has her first book, including the cat Takuro drew for her previously. Takuro is in the library and comes across a book with Yumiko's name on it, containing the cat he drew. He realizes it is hers. When he contacts the publishing company, they refuse to share her information. Back to the future, we see Takuro announcing the students about a school trip tomorrow, asking the arts club students to prepare some information boards for the place they are going to. Yua stays up all the night preparing something that he might love. In the trip, Takuro praises her work as he loved it. She was happy, but she suddenly felt dizzy because staying away all night. As we flash back to the past, we see him running to the company's location and sees Yumiko leaving with a friend, but she doesn't notice him. Shocked, he can't bring himself to call out to her. The next day, he approaches her again and this time sees her with another man. He calls out to her, and she is completely surprised to see him once more. They head to a cafe, and Takuro immediately notices the ring on her finger before saying anything. They engage in casual conversation, and Takuro finds out that she quit her job to secure his future. They then leave the cafe, and she goes back home, leaving Takuro feeling frustrated. In the future, Yua starts feeling unwell, eventually collapsing. Takuro catches her before she falls, and she appreciates his care and concern. However, some of her classmates question their relationship, making her nervous. She quickly responds by saying he is just her teacher, as she is already in a relationship. Yua was fortunate to have Akagi by her side, and he made it clear to the students that he was her boyfriend. On the other hand, Takuro overheard their conversation and felt envious, unsure of whether their words were genuine, and finally acknowledging his own feelings for Yua. In a flashback, Takuro confided in his best friend about seeing Yumiko with another man, unsure if he was her husband or fiancé, and vowing not to give up if he wasn't her husband. He later observed Yumiko in a taxi with the same man. In a future scene, Yua expressed her gratitude towards Akagi for his assistance. She was on the verge of fainting once more, so he assists her in sitting down, assuring her that he will get her some water. Upon encountering Takuro, who is aware of her illness, he rushes to her side and places his hand on her forehead, determining that she has a fever. Without saying a word, she falls asleep on his shoulder. Moving back to the past, Takuro had previously confided in his friend about his belief that Yumiko is already engaged, causing him to consider dropping out of college in order to find a job and save money for marrying Yumiko. Upon hearing this, his friend rushes to Yumiko's house, disclosing all of Takuro's plans and pleading with her to persuade him not to abandon his studies. Indeed, she reached out to Takuro to arrange a meeting with him. During their encounter, she expressed her disappointment and frustration towards him for his actions, emphasizing that he should not have abandoned college for any reason. Unable to contain himself, Takuro explains that his actions were driven by his love for her and his desire to become a responsible man with a job for her. She criticizes him for his perspective, asserting that she does not view him as suitable either as a student or employee, and reveals that the ring she wears was purchased by herself. Takuro is relieved by her response, and they both admit their feelings for each other, ultimately becoming a couple. In the future, Akagi observes Yua sleeping on Takuro's shoulder, causing him to feel frustrated. However, he chooses not to take any action. Takuro confides to his friend at home that he plans to resign from his position at the school due to developing romantic feelings for a student. This decision leaves him feeling guilty towards Yumiko. Reflecting on their happy marriage and good times together, he realizes that loving another girl would be considered cheating on her. Yua, on the other hand, learns that tomorrow is Takuro's birthday. Excitedly, she decides to give him a gift which turns out to be a painting. Joyfully, she begins working on the painting for him. While Takuro was at school, he held his paintings for Yumiko and remembered how she had celebrated his last birthday with joy. Suddenly, Yua entered the office and gave him the painting before wishing him a happy birthday in a way that reminded him of Yumiko's words. Takuro then scolded Yua harshly, telling her to stop what she was doing as he could not develop feelings for her. Yua left the place in tears, but Akagi, luckily, saw her in this state and offered to take her to the basketball court to try and comfort her. Despite Akagi confessing his feelings for her again, she rejected him, stating that she could only see him as a friend. Back at Takuro's house, he told his friend that he was planning to resign. The friend informs him that even if he wanted to, he couldn't ignore his true feelings for Yua. Takuro is overwhelmed, unsure of what to do, torn between his love for Yua and memories with Yumiko. Out of frustration, he grabs the painting he had made for Yumiko and rips it apart. In a final flashback, we witness Takuro and Yumiko's friend at their home awaiting Yumiko for dinner. However, Takuro receives a call informing him that his wife has passed away in an accident and he needs to come to identify her. They rush to the location, and when her friend sees her face, she collapses in despair upon realizing her friend is dead. Despite his shock, Takuro is unable to cry. He lives in sorrow, unable to shed a tear for his wife's death. In the office, he is seen submitting his resignation. Upon discovering this, Yua hurried to his office and found his wife's picture torn up. Feeling guilty, she ran off to search for Takuro. She pleaded with him not to quit, assuring him that she would keep her distance from him. Unexpectedly, he asked her to join him for dinner. Despite her reservations, she accepted, knowing it might be their last meeting. They communicate with each other, and as the day comes to an end, she pleads with him to stay a little longer. They sit together, and she pulls his notebook out of her bag, handing it to him where he discovers that Yua had fixed Yumiko's picture. She advises him not to let go of precious memories with his late wife. Takuro, for the first time since her passing, breaks down in tears over his sorrow. Yua brings up the topic of his resignation once again, urging him not to leave his job, promising that she won't bother him anymore or seek his love. To her surprise, Takuro reveals his feelings for her, admitting that he truly loves her, which is why he believes he should resign in order to protect her. Yua is emotional, expressing her initial hopes of happiness at a moment like this, but ultimately feeling sad because she cannot be with the person she desires to be with. Despite her inner conflict, she makes the decision to leave. The following day at school, as he begins to gather his belongings, Yua quickly exits the building to honor her commitment to staying away from him. She continues to evade him, causing Takuro to long for her presence and realize he cannot stand her absence. Consequently, he changes his mind and sets out to find her, but he manages to catch up and assures her that he will not give up until he witnesses her graduation. Yua focuses on her studies, while Takuro remains dedicated to his role as a teacher. On graduation day, she expresses her gratitude to him for everything he has done for her, and she fulfills her promise to not mention their love affair in order to spare him pain. She quietly departs. Later, Takuro is seen in his home reminiscing about his deceased wife, briefly envisioning her standing before him. In this vision, she reassures him of her love and acknowledges his genuine affection for her, encouraging him to move on and find his true love. Overcome with sorrow, Takuro weeps as he struggles to accept her departure. In the final scene, Takuro realizes that his shoelace is untied and bends down to fasten it. At that moment, Yua comes across him and they share a smile as they take steps towards each other.